Holy Gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ, according to Matthew. When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up the mountain, and after he sat down, his disciples came to him. Then he began to speak and taught them, saying, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you." The Gospel of the Lord. Welcome to be seated. For Jews demand signs, and Greeks desire wisdom, but we proclaim Christ crucified, a stumbling block to Jews and foolishness to Gentiles. But to those who are called, both Jews and Greeks, Christ the power of God and the wisdom of God, said St. Paul in that letter. And I find it marvelous and hilarious that we are the same people today as they were then. We demand signs. God, show me a sign. And we desire wisdom. I'll believe when it all makes sense. But God gives us still today Christ crucified. Our sign and wisdom is a man who appeared to the world as the picture of foolishness. He saved others. Let him save himself if he is the Son of God, they said when he was on the cross. And yet who at that same time when he was on the cross could see his glory, and who since has been able to discern his glory in that moment? One answer is that we understand Christ, the power of God, Christ, the wisdom of God, when we are beatitude people. Poor in spirit, mourning, meek, hungering and thirsting for righteousness, merciful, pure in heart, when we are persecuted for the sake of righteousness. In those moments, Christ looks very wise. Christ looks very powerful. The Beatitudes, which just continually puzzle me and delight me, they are not one great perfect answer, but they are living, and they are more living and more living, close in all the Beatitudes, close to the unfinished parts of ourselves, close to the unfinished parts of the world. So I thought of making your Mark art camp, which I was in this very same room this last summer when the art camp was hosted here for 4th through 6th graders in town. And there was an activity being done in which the kids would make little ladders out of sticks, and then they would have a canvas, and they would somehow, as their imagination led them, affix this ladder onto the canvas, and on the canvas and with other materials, paint and three-dimensional materials, would create a tree house. And I had in my mind lofty things. Great tree houses, grand constructions, and Jacob's ladder up to heaven, and I came into the hall and had the gift of these kids, they just towing you to their artwork by the hand to say, look what I created. Wow, what's important to you in this picture? See, my family's in the treehouse. Oh, this treehouse has a really good roof. Oh, I made sure there were plenty of flowers under the treehouse. Meek things, actual living, unfinished things. These treehouses would need to be lived in to have any meaning. But things that were worth giving everything for, to have flowers, to have a roof, to have a family in the treehouse. And so I was thinking as a secondary reflection about our capital campaign and how we're doing these marvelous, grand things. We have repaired the roof. It no longer leaks. We are making seating where the whole family can be seated, no matter who's in the family. We're making the windows bright. The flowers in the windows will shine out, and we'll be changing the landscaping to make it more hospitable and more of a open arms to come into the church. Beatitudes things. They could be grand things. They could be things that we put on like a crown of glory, worldly glory. But they could also be meek things that we just keep living through. And I believe they will be. So I want to invite you to, I'm going to invite you to 1 minute of silence. That's what the Beatitudes and this reading from Paul opened up in my heart. I'm going to invite you to a minute of silence and you're welcome to open and look at the Beatitudes right in front of you in the bulletin, but think on meek things and being poor in spirit and persecuted for righteousness' sake. Think of these things that are foolish to the world, but powerful and wise to Christ. And if there's a moment in your life where your expectations got turned upside down by the crucified Christ in these ways, draw that into your heart. And if there is a way, even more marvelously, if you then went from there to your job, or from there to your kids' dance practice, or wherever it was, and that beatitude managed to go with you and managed to change the world around you, or change how you moved through the world around you, call that into your heart. So I'll hold 1 minute of silence. When is a time when a beatitude, something beatitudinous, changed your heart, flipped a moment of your life around suddenly in front of you? And when is a moment maybe when you lived that out in the world, when it went with you out into the world? And after a moment of silence, I'll invite just a few minutes of sharing at table for anyone who's willing to share around where we are. 1 minute of silence. You'll be your own table as well within the online setting.